Good day, everyone. So, welcome back to my virtual classroom. For today, I'm going to be discussing about statistics. So, understanding statistics and exploring more about statistics. So, without further ado, let's start with the discussion of this video lesson. Okay. So, why a manager needs to know about statistics? So, everybody is considered a manager. Even you are a student, you can be a manager. Okay, so to know how to properly present and describe information, to know how to draw conclusions about large populations based only on information obtained from the samples, and of course, to know how to improve processes, to know how to obtain reliable forecasts, and of course, statistics means this is the science of collecting, organizing, analyzing, and of course, interpreting data. So statistics will start from collecting, and then after collecting the data, you have to organize it, present it, and analyze and interpret the data. Now, we have two statistical methods. So we have number one, the descriptive statistics, and of course, the inferential statistics. So there's a difference between the two. So when we speak of descriptive statistics, this is collecting and describing data, while inferential is making decision based on a sample data. Okay, so you'll know the difference between the two as I go along with my discussion about statistics. Okay, so when we speak of statistics, so we have these activities that maybe you can do. Of course, in collecting data, you might be using your survey, okay? And then presenting data, or to present data, you are doing it by tables and graphs. And of course, characterizing the data, you use the mean, which the formula is summation of x sub 1 divided by n, where your x is, of course, the sum of all the scores divided by the total number of observation. So, what about the characteristics of a population? A characteristics of a population is, of course, this is a parameter, and sample is a statistic. Do not be mistaken with the spelling because it's really statistic without S. Okay, population is the parameter, while sample is a statistic. So population is the totality of aggregate of observation, while the sample is just part of the population. So once parameter is mentioned, so that means that's a population, while statistics is a sample. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Um, for inferential statistics naman, this is estimation, hypothesis testing. So you use inferencing because you will be getting samples, and by this sample the decision is for the totality of the population. Say for example, in a survey on who will be the next president of the Philippines, so not everyone is included in the survey, but only those samples. Okay, and those sample will decide concerning the population. Okay, I hope this is clear. So making decisions concerning a population based on the sample results. Okay, so this is inferential statistics. Okay, so we have different types of data in statistics. So data is under categorical or numerical data. So under numerical data, we have discrete and continuous data. So what are the differences between the two? So I'll be discussing this in a while in this video. So let's take first uh, the types of data. So the types of data, of course, is divided into, or we have two types of data rather. We have qualitative data and quantitative data. From the word itself, qualitative data. So that means it is more of quality. Okay, qualitative data, or these are the non-numerical characteristics or labels. Examples, we have eye color, then we have first name, what is your favorite movie, political party. So these are examples of qualitative data. So it is more of non-numerical characteristics or labels. So, but when we speak of quantitative data, this is numerical measurement or quantities. So it talks about number. So example, height, weight, income, resting pulse rate, blood alcohol level, ano pa ba? Say for example, we have academic achievement, but this data talks about numerics or numbers, so numerical measurements or quantities. So it's very easy to understand the difference between the qualitative data and the quantitative data, because qualitative data, again, it's the non-numerical, while quantitative data are numerical. So types of data sets. So as I mentioned a while ago, we have population and sample. So when we speak of population, so data set consisting of all outcomes, measurements, or responses of interest. So ibig sabihin, this is the totality of the aggregate of observation. Okay, it's all outcomes. While sample, this is a data set which is a subset of the population in the data set. So this sample is only a subset of the population. So this is just a part of the population. So let's take some examples here. So if we are interested in measuring the salaries of American high school teachers, the population data set would be a list of the salaries of every high school teacher in America. A sample data set could be obtained by selected 100 high school teachers from across the country and listing their salaries. Okay, another example. A polling organization wants to know whether Americans favor increased defense spending. So the population data set would consist of the responses of every American. So a common way of choosing a sample data set would be to randomly call 1,000 Americans and gather the responses to the questions whether they favor increased defense spending. And of course, another one, a biologist wants to measure the weights of female Alaskan grizzly bears. What would be the population data set? A possible sample set. Okay, so here are the samples. Then we have types of measurements, parameter, and statistics. So sabi natin kanina, when we speak of parameter, this is the numerical measurement made using the population data set. While statistics is a numerical measurement made using a sample data set. I already mentioned this a while ago. So example, using the teacher's salary data sets, we could calculate the average salary of for the high school teachers. The average calculated from the population data set would be the parameter. So the average calculated from the sample of 100 teachers would be the statistic. So using the opinion poll data on defense spending, we could calculate the percentage of Americans who favor increased defense spending. So the actual percentage of all Americans who favored increased defense spending would be the parameter. So the percentage of the 1,000 Americans in our sample who favored increased spending, of course, would be the statistics, but not all the 1,000 Americans, because that's already the um, parameter. Okay, notice that unless the population is very small, it is probably impossible to gather the population data set. And so it is usually impossible to calculate the parameter we are interested in. So we only compute for a sample if there is a big number of observation, or the population is big. But if the population is small, so we don't need to get the sample. So we take it as 100%. So the main idea of the science of statistics is that we can get around this difficulty by selecting a sample kung maliit. Calculating the sample statistics and use the sample statistics to make an estimate of the parameter. So unfortunately, statistical estimates can never be 100% certain. So they have at least 90 or 95 or 99% certain. So there is always a margin of error. Okay, so take note of that, whether it is 10%, 5%, or 1% margin of error. So now one of the most important um, concept in statistics is understanding the levels of measurement, because we have different data. Okay, so we have nominal data. When we speak of nominal data, these are qualitative only. Data value serves as labels, but the labels have no meaningful order. So example, blood type. What are the blood types? Okay, college major. Okay, breed of dog, shape of bacteria. So these are nominal data, which are qualitative in nature. What about ordinal data? So this can be a qualitative or quantitative data. Data value serves as labels, but the labels have a natural meaningful order. So differences between values, however, are meaningless. So usually it took the order. Okay, say for example, statistics grade, NCAA basketball rankings, terror threat level, ano pa, and others. So say for example, academic performance. So it has or honors. So ordinal data yon. Okay? And then we have interval. Ano naman ang interval data? Ang interval data naman usually are always quantitative. Data values are numerical. So they have a natural meaning. They have a natural meaningful order, and differences between data values are meaningful. So the ratio of two data values, however, is meaningless. This occurs only when there is a zero. When zero is an arbitrary measurement rather than actually indicating nothing. So example, temperature, okay, year of birth. So these are interval data. Okay? Pag sinabi natin zero, this occurs when zero is an arbitrary measurement rather than actually indicating nothing. Say for example, zero temperature. Okay? So year of birth, zero age. Okay? So ratio data naman are always quantitative, and data values are numerical, have order, and both differences and ratios between values are meaningful. So zero measurement indicates absence of the quantity being measured. Say for example, weight, height, volume, number of children. So kapag sinabing zero, wala talaga siya. Zero weight, zero height, zero volume, zero number of children. So that is ratio data. So how will you differentiate interval saka ratio, kasi medyo nakakalito itong dalawa. So sabi natin, kapag interval data, zero is an arbitrary measurement rather than uh, indicating na wala talaga siya. Okay, it's an arbitrary measurement. Okay, so those are the four levels of measurement. We have nominal data, ordinal data, we have interval data, and ratio data. So this is very important because especially when you are doing your research, the data is being of course considered, especially in doing your research titles or um, doing your statistics. Okay, so we have different data sources. So saan nga ba tayo kukuha ng mga data? So it is divided into two. So we have primary data and secondary data. So pag sinabi natin data, primary data, of course, ito yung observation. You observe directly. Okay? Then you do the survey. You do the experimentation first hand. So kaya tinawag siya na primary uh, primary data collection. And of course, pag sinabi naman natin secondary data, or these are, of course, secondary data compilations like print or electronic sheets, books, what else, journals. These are already secondary because the data found here is not primary, or the data found here is not first hand. Okay, so it's already published, it's been studied already, okay, or is made by the person. So that is secondary data. Okay, so now what are the methods of data collection? So since we have different sources of data, how do we collect them? How do we collect data? So it's through census. If you are familiar with census, this collect measurements from the entire population. In our case, in of course, in finding uh, the data of the whole population, say for example, the Philippines, so they use our agency, the Philippine Statistics Office, to get the to get some informations about the people entire Philippines. So we call it as census. Okay. So to discuss further these methods, and my next video will be continuing the discussion on methods of data collection. Thank you so much for listening and understanding this video.